Well, as you may have heard, we got a spectacular ruling from federal judge Sullivan in the district court in D.C. late yesterday. It came on the heels of a little bit of a nail biter in the afternoon. Would the DOJ respond by 1 p.m. as Judge Sullivan ordered them to do, to be able to finally brief everything that was going on in my case? The DOJ didn't even bother to file a single piece of paper. Clearly, Judge Sullivan, though, was ready to go because he ended up doing a 48-page order granting my motion for preliminary injunction. I just want to
The update we have today about the Epstein file could potentially open the floodgates of information that will make the public stunned. We have to understand that this is not going to be the end of the Epstein file, cyber. No, but it's going to bring relief to the struggles of those who may have been affected by these unfortunate accounts. The Epstein file case have had lots of huge legal barriers, and this one is high up there. We've heard some very touching stories of Epstein survivors, young girls who believe Adams was supposed to protect them. Young girls were trying to understand the word. They were trying to grow up. They were still trying to figure out who they were. And when they entered a world controlled by folks, by people with money, with power, with lawyers, private planes, big houses, and connections, the damage was already done. And they didn't really understand how to do. They did what many survivors would do. They tried to move on. They tried to forget it. They tried to live a normal life. But how do you live a normal life when folks or foes who hurt you have more power than you? They have more money than you. They have more protections than you. And years later, after finding the courage to speak, after court cases, after public promises, after politicians said they cared about victims, these wonderful women are now listening to the same system say, we need more redactions. We need more delays. We need more limits. And Fred, imagine how painful that must feel. The Epstein file story is not just another political headline, no. Because when people say, release the Epstein file, they're not trying to say expose the victims. No, victims must be protected. Their private dealers must be protected. Their dignity must be protected. What about powerful people, connected people? No, people who may have enabled, ignored, covered up, benefited, or stayed silent. They should not be protected by the same redactions, which means they must be exposed. Redact the victims, not power. Now, here's what happened in this case. Katie Phang, that's her name, she sued the DOJ and the acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. She argued that the government was not properly following the Epstein File Transparency Act. That law was supposed to bring sunlight to Epstein files. But the lawsuit says the DOJ missed the deadlines, withheld records, over-redacted documents, and failed to properly explain what was being hidden. And now a federal judge stepped in and said, enough is enough. The judge basically told the DOJ, you cannot just black out information. Release. You cannot just black out information. You cannot just release linked files and tell the public to trust you. No, you can't do that. You either release more unredacted materials or you explain clearly why those redactions should stay. And that is where this story gets serious. Because when the government has to be forced by a judge to explain why it is hiding information in the Epstein case, the public has every right to ask one simple question. Who are they protecting? Are you protecting survivors or are you protecting powerful people? Because those are not the same thing. They're not. And it's interesting. If a redaction protects a survivor, keep it. If a redaction protects a victim's private details, keep it. If a redaction prevents someone from being harassed, threatened, or exposed again, keep it. But if a redaction protects a politician, a donor, a billionaire, a celebrity, or connected friends, or someone who had power around Epstein, then No. That is not victim protection. That is reputation protection. And Americans are tired of reputation protection. They are tired of watching ordinary folks get exposed, embarrassed, investigated, and punished, while powerful people get privacy, patience, lawyers, delays, sealed documents, and black ink. Now, watch this. If this file only involves regular folks, do you really think the government will be this careful? Do you really think they would move this slowly? Do you really think they would say, please be patient, we need to protect sensitive reputations? No. They would release the name, hold a press conference, point to a chart, and call it accountability. But because Epstein had connections to powerful suckers, connected people, suddenly everybody becomes shy. Suddenly the government becomes very careful. Suddenly the pages go black. Suddenly the public is told you do not need to see that. Oh, really? No, my friend, that's exactly why the public needs to see this document. Because every unnecessary redaction creates more suspicion. Every missing name creates more questions. Every delay tells Americans that the justice system may still have some rule for regular folks and other rules for the powerful people. And let me be very clear. A name appearing in the file does not automatically mean that person committed the crime. Context matters. Evidence matters. Due process matters. Nobody should be falsely accused just because their name appeared somewhere. But here is the problem. You cannot use context matters as an excuse to hide the context. If someone is mentioned casually, show the context. If someone was only a social contact, show the context. If someone did something wrong, show the context. But do not hide everything and then ask the public to believe your version. Oh, no. Because you cannot say there is nothing to see here while covering the entire page with black ink. That is like a child hiding chocolate behind his back and saying, I promise I did not touch the candy. My friend, maybe you did not. But now, we definitely want to check your hands. And that's exactly what Americans are doing right now. They're checking the government's hands. They're asking, why were some names hidden? Why were some documents withheld? Why were some records limited? Why were some files reportedly released in a way that caused concerns for survivors? Why powerful names still remain protected? That is why every attempt to redact or limit these files must be challenged. Not because victims should be exposed. No. Because victims' protection should never become the excuse for elite protection for people who have power. Now, what might happen next? What do you think is going to happen next, folks? The DOJ may release more documents with fewer redactions. Or the DOJ may come back and argue that certain redactions are legally necessary. Or the DOJ may appeal, delay, find, drag. And if that happens, the public should pay even closer attention. Because delay is not always neutral. Sometimes delay is a strategy. Sometimes delay is how powerful people wait for outrage to fade. Sometimes delay is how the story slowly disappears from the headlines, while the public gets distracted by the next controversy. But this story should never disappear. And I hope it doesn't disappear. Because Epstein is not only a scandal from the past. This is a test of whether powerful people still answer to the public. This is a test of whether transparency law actually means anything. This is a test of whether a judge has to force the government to do what the government should have done already. And this is why the public should care. Because today it is the Epstein files. Tomorrow it could be another case involving another powerful folk. And if the government learns that it can hide behind redaction here, it can hide behind redaction anywhere. That's the danger. This is not just about Trump. This is not just about Todd Blanche. This is not just about Katie Phang. This is about where government transparency still matters when names that are involved are rich folks, famous folks, political people, and connected people. And yes, Trump's name is part of the political conversations around these files. But this is not about saying Trump is guilty of a crime. No. Allegations are not convictions. Invention is not proof. Everyone deserves fairness. But fairness does not mean secrecy. Fairness means contest. Fairness means document. Yeah, document. Fairness means the public gets to see what can be legally released, why victims are protected and powerful people are not shielded just because their names are uncomfortable. Because trust is not enough anymore. Not after years of secrets. Not after years of delay. Not after survivors had to fight to be heard. Not after the public was told again and again that transparency was count. So here's my message to the DOJ, to Todd Blanche, and to every powerful person whose name may appear in this record. If there is nothing to hide, stop hiding it. I'm not accusing Todd Blanche. I'm not accusing the DOJ. I'm not accusing Trump. No, that's not the point here. No. What we're trying to say is, if there is nothing to hide, stop hiding. If the redactions are legitimate, explain them. If the files are sensitive, protect the victims. But do not protect powerful people. Do not protect power. Do not protect reputations. Do not protect people simply because they are rich. Famous political, useful or connected people don't protect folks like that. Because the public is not asking for gossip. The public is asking for the truth. And in democracy, truth matters. Not lawsuits, not a judge, not a deadline. Truth matters. So let me ask you, do you believe these redactions are protecting victims? Or do you believe they are protecting powerful people? Drop your thoughts in the comment section. And if you believe the Epstein files should be released with transparency, like this video, subscribe, and share it. Because this is bigger than one case. This is about where power still has us. So people, thank you very much.